Coronavirus infections are skyrocketing in Arizona. The state has the fastest growth rate in the country right now. Today, Arizona reported its second highest number of cases in a single day, trailing only yesterday's record jump. NBC News correspondent Vaughn Hillyard joins me now from Phoenix. And Vaughn, how are state officials reacting to this record number of new cases?
Well, we should note, Allison, there's been no changes as of this moment. Governor Doug Ducey, the Arizona governor, will be holding a press conference with the press here at the top of this next hour. But as of this point, it's now been more than a month since the state allowed its stay-at-home order to expire. And there have been no changes in terms of policy from this governor's office. Essentially, most everything opened up. Restaurant and retail opened up in early May. And then places such as casinos and water parks opened up on May 15th. And what you have seen since then is exponential growth. Exponential growth. You've seen more than 11,000 cases, Allison, in just the last week alone. Hospitalizations are at a high. The most ICU beds being used to date are currently, is the current situation right now. What you have seen here ever since the state reopened was just a climb in these numbers and a continued spread. And that's where the question is, where does this go from here? As part of the governor's executive orders over the course of the spring, one of the executive orders he put into place, Allison, was that localities, that would be county and city agencies, would not be able to put forward their own restrictions. And that is where there are several entities, including the city of Nogales, the city of Tucson, several counties that have called on the governor to allow them to implement their own mask requirements or their own restrictions, such as shutting down, restaurant and dining services again. But the governor, to this afternoon, has not relented at this point to those demands to make their own decisions. And this is sort of the state of play here in Arizona as these numbers continue to rise.
Yeah. Vaughn, as those numbers rise, as more people in Arizona get sick, are residents there taking the coronavirus seriously? Are they especially concerned?
There doesn't seem to be too much concern among the folks that are at least out and about, Allison. You continue to see bars in Scottsdale and Tempe that are full. Mm-hmm. You still see very minimal mask wearing from the grocery stores to retail locations. There are folks that are eating inside at indoor facilities. And, the question mark is, you see in some states these numbers are going down and folks are able to go about their life a little bit more normally. But here in the state of Arizona, there is no sign that these numbers are going in the right direction. In fact, just this afternoon, Arizona State University released its latest modeling, and they said that over the course of the last month, since the stay-at-home order expired, transmission rate has increased by 40%. And every indication is, unless measures are taken, like more mask wearing, like more social distancing, or folks simply taking this more seriously, that those numbers, hospitalizations, cases, and deaths will continue to rise. The governor's office had suggested 1 month ago that the percent positive cases was a leading factor for their decision to reopen, and that once folks testing increased, that you would see that number continue to go down. But every indication is that that number has continued to increase. And the reason why we look at that number, Allison, was that the state had hoped that once you test more people, you're finding out that there's more negative tests that come back. And once you identify people that need to be quarantined, then it is easier to kill the spread of the virus. But what you've seen happen since mid-May is that number has gradually gone up.
Vaughn, I know you spoke with a woman who lost her father to the coronavirus. What did she tell you about what she's been through, and what is she saying to people there in Arizona?
This is one anecdote, Allison, but I think it's too poignant to the situation that we're looking at. Lena Washington happened to be a college classmate of mine at Arizona State University. She's now a sportscaster in Sacramento, and she's flying home on Friday to put her dad to rest on Father's Day this Sunday. Her father was 68 years old, Robert Washington. The gentleman worked at a casino. He went back to work on May 15th, the day the casino opened. He called his daughter the following day and said he was concerned about what he was around, that the facility was overwhelmed. There was minimal mask wearing. She said that he said more than 80% of folks there were not wearing masks. He was vulnerable, 68 years old, has diabetes, was a cancer survivor. 2 weeks later, he tested positive for COVID, was sick. By the beginning of June, he was in the hospital. And then just on June 11th, Lena got the call that her father passed away. This is one of those situations where Lena is frustrated. She's angry because she sees a direct correlation between the reopening of that casino and her father's passing. Take a listen to a little bit of our conversation with Lena.
Arizona needs to take this seriously because he's not going to be the last. And people who know me, you might be next. I never thought it'd be me. People I went to high school with, you could be the next person to experience this pain. And it's because people like you and other people in Arizona and leadership aren't taking this seriously, and it's careless, and it took my dad's life.
Again, it is going to take a change in attitude and a change in action here in the state of Arizona to change the direction of where this is headed in the state. Lena, again, is coming in here this weekend, just one of those families to experience death and experience the impact of COVID spread here in Arizona. Allison?
Vaughn, it's just absolutely heartbreaking. We're so sorry for Lena's family. And I just know there are so many other people who have been touched by the coronavirus, who know people who have lost someone. It is affecting so many of us. Thank you for sharing her story.
Thanks, Allison.
One restaurant chain in Arizona might show other restaurants in the state just how careful they need to be as they reopen. NBC's Bram Resnick is in Phoenix with more.
Restaurants are fighting for their lives in this pandemic, but public health experts say one restaurant chain might be an example of what not to do to survive.
From Dutch Brothers to The Porch to Zips. At a half dozen restaurants and a coffee house on Arcadia's Indian School Road, an employee has been infected with COVID-19.
Today, I know of 4 personally, and then a 5th that I was told about.
Janine Narvaez works for the Zips on 36th Street in Indian School. The restaurant now shifting from dine-in to takeout only.
Even if it gets to one person that they fall deathly ill or something even, causes like that to spread even more, it's not worth it to risk safety if just to keep the restaurant open.
Zips did alert customers that it wasn't requiring staff to take certain precautions. If you are uncomfortable due to our staff not wearing masks, gloves, we understand and respect that. This isn't the time to argue or complain about our differences. This is a time to exercise personal freedoms.
Surfaces matter, disinfection matters, but airborne transmission is dominant.
Zips' maskless and gloveless reopening was celebrated on the Great 48 Facebook page, devoted to rejecting coronavirus safeguards.
This is an experiment, really. They opened up the way they opened up, and now they've seen what happened.
Under Maricopa County's health code, restaurants don't have to publicly report when an employee is infected with the coronavirus.
This is the kind of thing that we can expect, at least up until the vaccine comes out and it's widely distributed.
Former State Health Director Will Humble says masks are needed to help stop the spread in restaurants.
If you don't put these measures in place, you're going to jeopardize that trust you have with your customers.
Hundreds of people waiting for hours in Kentucky for the second day in a row. Wave 3 news reporter Mike Fussell shows us the trouble they're having getting unemployment help.
A number of them did get that help Wednesday, some showing up hours before the pop-up help center even opened at 9 a.m. What would materialize later in the day was a line of hundreds of people, each with their own stories. One person I talked to was laid off, got another job, then was laid off from that. Another one received one payment, but then they stopped weeks ago. Those two were able to get their issues resolved, but farther down, Brianna Glass, who had just had a baby days ago, showed up with her grandmother, skeptical of finding help at the end of the line after already having issues with the system.
And it's just really hard, and I would just wish that somebody would help. I mean, I've called, I've emailed, I've did everything I possibly could, and still nothing.
That's disheartening. She's waited, she's gone through this, you sit on the computer or your phone 4 hours, systems crashing, the phone number, sit there 4 hours and get hung up on.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.